Hello everyone, and welcome to our third dev stream, where we're going to be diving deep into the heart of everything about our game, sharing exclusive updates, addressing the pressing issues our community now faces. I'm Verret, your host for today and one of the owners of the game. Today I'm here with three incredibly talented individuals from our team. Dice, who helps manage the entire development team.
Hello, my name is Dice.
Welcome to our third dev stream.
Apologies. Hello, everybody. My name is Dice. I do manage the development team. Yes, and I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you, Dice. Jonathan, whom is one of our very talented modelers.
Hello, my name's Jonathan.
And Zeal, who helps code on the game. Namely Kaiju specifically.
Yeah, what's up? I am the resident Portuguese man. Hello.
Each of us has a unique perspective of development to bring to the table today, and we're thrilled to share with you what we've been working on. Before we start our first segment on the development of MG21, we wanted to give some updates on the current situation, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Progress is currently being made on the licensing front. We have ongoing communications with Toho to ensure the game's return. We unfortunately don't have any TA or promises at this time, but things are looking promising. We will be answering specific questions throughout the dev stream for more information about this. But now to go into our first segment. Jonathan, if you'd like to show off MG21.
Sure. So this is the model we showed last time, but this time we're going to show you a little bit. We're going to take a little bit longer to show you a little bit more of what it can do, and just so I don't have to talk short. So I guess I should go into this, Barrett?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So if you've seen the last stream, I'm going to go over some of the similar stuff that we did last time, just for the people that weren't there, and because some of the clips were a bit shorter. So this is our MG21 model, or the remodel for it, rather. And for this, we've basically done everything we can to make him incredibly movie accurate, both in how he looks, so you can see there's quite a good level of detail on him, as well as how he moves. He's got a lot of mechanical functions and little missile pods and things like that that can open up on him. And so I'm just going to start showing off some of that. So let me put him in a different pose here. Where's his rest? Okay. So in the arms, for example, as the arms rotate out, there's a piston linkage, which you can see in here. This is actually a linkage of 3 pistons. And as the arm moves out, it automates the extension of the pistons to accommodate the motion of the arm, so that whenever a pose is achieved, it's in line with what he would actually be able to do in the movie or even in real life if this is a mechanical object. So the arm moving out like this, it actuates the 3 pistons in here, and then there's also a manual adjustment in here for additional rotations. We also have stuff where, for example, you can, if the arm rotates, it will move on these pistons on the inner arm here. If you're familiar with figures, this is kind of like what you call a butterfly joint. It's what allows you to move, I forget the bones in the human body, but it's like the scapula and your whatever's in the front. There's words for it. Anyway, it moves back and forth, and it's kind of fun to watch. We also have a linkage in the side of the arm here, which moves individually, and it accommodates the rotation of the arm. So for most Roblox models, if you wanted to rotate the arm outward, like this, without rotating this part outwards, well, you couldn't do that, but this allows us to have a full mechanical linkage where it rotates in the correct ways. Then in the That is a lot of stuff. Let me hide some of that. In the elbow, there are, I think, 4 moving panels here, built to kind of allow flexibility, but also make him feel a little bit alive. So, in the elbow, this part here it moves in and out, so that as he moves his arm up, it won't clip, and he has a greater range of movement. He's got a bicep flex in this panel here, as well as a tricep flex at the back. And then also when you move the arm in here, underneath the missile launcher, there's a panel that, hold on, let me open that, there we go. This panel moves to cover the inside of the pistons like a shoulder guard. As for some of the weapons on his arms, we have on the shoulder pads, he has his hidden rocket launchers that he has in the movie, so these flip up. You can launch missiles out of those. He has in his hands, these are also on mechanical linkages, and inside of them he has his buzzsaws on his fingers. And then more in the neck area, or around the head, he has a number of linkages that allow for the kind of a breathing motion. So as he moves his neck forward and back, his chest will lift up, and it sort of looks like he's inhaling, I suppose, in the way that the your rib cage can expand. And that sort of gives him a little bit more life to his motions. It should be pretty cool to see in game. He's also got this running throughout his abdomen, where let me just set that right, where the panels on his abdomen will stretch outward like an accordion, and it's all to make it seem a little bit more alive as a character. Then in these side panels, they also flex as he moves, so they sort of move in and out on a linkage to try to avoid clipping, and it all makes the body have a much more fluent motion. And we're trying to do that to make him really seem as sort of agile as he was in the movie. In the legs, he has, well, I guess I'll start at the feet. He has linkages in his ankles, which cover the front and back, like ankle guards, protect the feet. He has full mechanical linkages in the toes, on hinges, that sort of thing. And then in his knees, it's a little bit hard to see, but he's got a moving kneecap guard for extra armor there. And then also as he moves his legs, it will pump these piston linkages in the back. Another big thing we can do is all of the pistons move around naturally in his inner leg. And so you can see as we're moving this, they extend all on their own accord. And there's even little pistons put all the way back up and here, just where his tail mounts to him. So there's a lot of pistons working in there to move his legs around. And as they move around, you can see that there's these linkages in the knee pad that are bending in and out. And we can also manually adjust the slide and the extension of the pistons. But it should all create some very fluid motion. We've also got a ton of opening panels. For example, in his abdomen here, these can be opened for the effect of the missiles launching. And then I guess I'll just show off sort of a exploded view here, where you can see kind of the level of the extent we went to make all of his parts move. So there's actually a lot more parts in him than this, but this is some of the build we have to do for the model to make all the parts function. Next thing I'll show you is the transformation of his weapons. Let's increase that. So his tail can transform from the drill, or to the drill, sorry, from the regular tail. But also his he has the rockets in his back, which come out, and we have full control of every single spine and every panel that runs along him here, even the panels, the rockets that are internal and the panels on the side here, as well as the rocket launchers. And they can be used to create that sort of wake-up effect he has in the movie. And then the last thing I'll show here is a small animation of him kind of moving, so you can see some of these things working. Hide that. So as he runs, you can see that the pistons and the groin, they're automatically working, as well as all the little pumps on him are running to accommodate his motion. This also is just a test animation. You can also see some of the breast and abdomen movement in here.
Talk about our game design process, but also talk about the job as a whole. I think Biollante is an incredibly awesome kaiju. I love her design. I love her story. Most importantly, I think for me, I actually really loved working on her. So right now, I am screen sharing the development build of Kaiju Universe, which I think will be a nice change of pace. And I wanted to talk about a lot of the design considerations we had when making this kaiju, especially in the gameplay side of things. Most of all, I wanted to talk about something in particular that you guys are probably going to see coming. The ability, the little tentacle guys. So when Dice went to me and he said, "Oh yeah, so Biolani's ability is that he's going to summon like 4 dudes that are going to hit enemies," I almost had a heart attack. I was not prepared. And as you know, this is the first instance of an AI in Kaiju Universe, and it was basically thrown onto me. Like when I got the kaiju, we had a lot of time to develop the kaiju, so time wasn't the issue. It was just, it was a challenge, and I like challenges. And so a lot of time and thought went into making these. And I like to go over how they work. So right now, we can say that your kaiju, your individual kaiju, that's basically a script they run off of. You can simplify it to that much. Whenever you spawn a tentacle, these tentacles are linked to you. If you die, we want them to despawn. We don't want to make it so that you can like kill a Biolani and then his little dudes are going to stay. That would just be really annoying and kind of ridiculous. So these tentacle guys are also going to be linked to your own kaiju. They are linked to your own scripts, and that makes it so that whenever you die, their script also dies. And they work essentially on a different thread than your main kaiju. So whenever I do an attack, this is running on, you can say, the main thread for this kaiju. This means that anything else that this kaiju is doing is basically going to stop and run whatever attack you're using. Because of this, if we had the V ability running on the same thread as the main kaiju, you will not be able to use anything, really, while these tentacles are still up. Because they're going to be searching for new kaijus to attack, and they're going to be attacking, and they're going to be doing all of their complicated stuff, and it's going to be a really big problem. So what they do instead is they each have their own little part of their server dedicated entirely to them, which will run their AI. Their AI is actually really simple, and it was definitely the easiest part of making them. They basically have a range of like 60 meters. It's about as long as their animation goes, where they will detect any kaijus that wander in. They will not attack buildings, as you can see here, and they will just stand by and check out any kaijus that they might be seeing. And if someone is within range, then they'll just attack. They will face towards them, and they will do their little attack animation. There is a lot of vector maps regarding that. There's a lot of facing them to turn the kaiju in the right way and making it look smooth and making it look nice, and doing it so that you can both see it smoothly and the other player can see it smoothly. And it's a really big pain. But I think the end result was pretty cool. And so that's how these tentacles are going to work. But one of the unexpected issues that we actually had was, how do you spawn them? You're spawning 4 tentacles, right? These the little guys. One of the original ideas was actually to have these little guys completely disconnect. So whenever you use the V ability, these guys weren't going to be attached to you anymore. They were going to detach, I guess, and pop up somewhere else. I brought this up to Dice, and he said, "No, we're not doing that because she uses these tentacles to move, and she would be a cripple, and that would not be very fun to play." But still, there is a big problem. Which is, for example, let's go over here to the Basin of Tokyo, right? Let's say, what if I'm fighting over here, and you can't use them underwater? but what if I don't know, jump out of the water real quick, and for like this split second before you get put back into the water, I use the tentacles ability. Now I can do that, and it does absolutely nothing. And the reason for that is because that is something we definitely had to prevent. We do not want people abusing this and spawning them underwater. And that task is a lot simpler than it sounds, because what if I don't know, spawn the tentacles here, right? The easy solution is to pick 4 positions around Violante, right? And you're like, okay, so the ground in this position is like here. You can use what's called a raycast. You're basically shooting a beam from a random place in the world. Not a random, but not a random place, but a place we choose, and you're shooting it down to the ground. That's cool. The problem is that, for example, if I'm standing right here, I'm just going to shoot it all the way down into the ocean, and it's going to spawn down there. And the best case scenario is going to be worthless. And in the worst case scenario, you can use this to absolutely cheese the game. A lot of thought actually went into making sure that these tentacles will not spawn underwater. That is an issue we've had before, which is that, for example, kaijus like Kiryu, the old one, could actually jump out of the water and they could fire a beam while they were in the air and then beam underwater that way. And that was a big problem, and that's something we definitely wanted to remedy with Violane. And so this mechanic actually took quite a while to develop while we went with the proper solution. This is something I can... Sorry. This is something I can talk about later. I wanted to talk about also Violane's various different concepts throughout the development process. Violane was originally a very different kaiju from what we currently have. In fact, the whole entire idea of having a multi-hit combo system was not a thing that existed. You being able to do things like this and hit twice, this was not a thing. This was something we added later, because we had all of these animations, and they were supposed to be big, cool combo attacks. And we thought, hey, so we already have quite a few kaijus that have big, cool combo attacks. In fact, the last kaiju I believe we released was -1 before this. And that's definitely one of the kaijus that had a system like that, and we thought, it's not really going to be cool, you know? People are going to get Violane and they're going to be like, oh, so this is just -1, especially since you have the Acid Rain attack. And so we decided to incorporate the multi-hit idea into Violane for that reason. Violane also had another similarity to another kaiju, which was Ice Violane. Sorry, Ice Behemoth, not Ice Violane, or I believe it's called Frozen Behemoth. It's called Ice Behemoth internally. As you might know, Frozen Behemoth has an ice garden he can stand around in. And by standing around his ice garden, he gets like crazy regeneration. The whole idea is that he's a zoner kaiju. He puts down his ice garden, and he sits in it. And anyone that comes close, he'll be able to kill no problem. The original idea from Violane was having it so that when multiverse, this acid cloud that was resulting from that resulted from the attack, it actually made you gain parasitic link effect from Muto Prime. It was originally not toxin, and it was in fact parasitic link. So not only would it deal a lot of damage, you would also seep health. And just like Muto Prime, this parasitic link would stack. You will progressively gain more and more health regen. Eventually, we realized that's a little insane to boost that. We thought, hey, this is not going to work with this kaiju. This is too powerful. Violane is already such a tanky woman, you know? It's such a tanky, I guess plant. We don't want to do that. So let's make it toxin instead. Let's make it purely a damage attack. And it also stacks back then, and we removed the stacking because it was just way too powerful with the balancing. Leon Apocalypse is also another attack that got changed considerably. We did not want to have the aimable beam. That is actually one of the things we talked about when we first started designing the kaijus. We thought that just giving her another aimable was going to be weird, because our main idea with Violane is making it so that she's not just a really strong zoner, but also that she can catch up to people. The main problem with zoner kaijus we have is that they can settle down real good, and they're very bulky. But once they do that, it's going to be a really big problem. And so we decided to make the beam a clonal, non-aimable beam instead. And likewise, it also had a slowness status effect that was removed. And that's something we had to take a lot of care about. A lot of things went into Violane, and a lot of things went out of Violane. Another thing that was scrapped, and this is the last thing I will be talking about with Violane, before we move on to our other topics, is Violane actually used to have a bar. The way this would work is you would build them up like other kaijus by simply attacking, and in this case actually hitting other kaijus, maybe combo abilities. and this would give you a stacking buff of up to, I believe, 3 charges or something like that, which would buff up both of your acid attacks, or maybe perhaps even allow you to use your V ability. Eventually, we realized that it was just superfluous to the Kaiju's design. It's also something we have to pay a lot of attention to. We've had a lot of mechanics that I think the community thought was a bit over the top. Even if they added depth to the Kaiju, they didn't really fit in too well. And that's one of the things we've been paying a lot of attention to. We realized that this mechanic did not add anything to Kaiju, and so it was just completely removed. And yeah, those are some of the things I wanted to talk about with Violani. And I'm going to pass it on to Barrett now.
All right. Well, that was a very good talk on Biollante, Zeal. So for now, we're going to be taking a 1 to 2 minute intermission. And when we get back, me and Zeal are going to be talking about balancing throughout the game and how we do it and everything around that. Hello, everyone, and we are back. So now we're going to be talking a bit more about balancing and how we do it, what's it about, what does it actually mean to balance a kaiju, what we try to aim for, and what our general goals are when balancing a kaiju and looking for kaijus to balance. On the surface, this may seem like an easy thing. Nerf whatever's OP, buff whatever's too weak. But it can actually be very, very difficult, especially when a lot of our characters don't have a basis in the game. Because many people think that a kaiju should have a very different balancing, right? And when two people think, for example, Burning Godzilla is my perfect example. Because in the movies, he shows incredible feats where his infinite burning heat ray is said to be able to get stronger every single time he uses it, which means it can get infinitely strong. We have to contrast that with reality, which means people are going to fall along a spectrum and we're not going to be exactly sure of where it should fall. So we're going to kind of go over our tools and methodology to show exactly how we determine that and what we consider balanced and how we try to do that the best that we can. So Zeal, if you'd like to show off the rebalance panel.
Yeah. So one of our main tools regarding balancing is what we call the rebalance. This white box you see right here is what we call the rebalance panel. This is a very nifty tool made that allows us to dynamically see and adjust all of the stats for a given kaiju. You can see all of the timings, you can see the cooldowns, the durations of every attack, the range. There's some other miscellaneous things for fixing up attacks, which helps a lot during development. There's obviously the damage, you have knockback, and this is one of our primary tools for rebalancing. An issue we had before is that we rebalanced a lot via testing. Something we really like to do is grab a lot of members of the community. They're very experienced with the game. They are very good at the game. They're very good at combat. They're very familiar with the game. They're familiar with our views of the game. And we grab them. And what we do is we set up basically arena matches, sort of. And we have them, say, take a specific kaiju and fight each other with it. And an issue we had is that if a kaiju is way too weak or way too strong, we would have to pause the testing, go on Roblox Studio, go to the stats script, change whatever they had to be changed, close the testing place, publish it's a whole thing. And so we decided to instead make the panel. The way the panel works is really simple. Let's say I want to change the base health of Biolani. I can just go right here. Let's say I want to give it 250 more health. I type it right there, click apply edits, and I will be respawned with a Biolani with 250 more health. And this is definitely one of the main tools we use for testing. And balancing, sorry. We also have a tool which allows us to import these stats directly into the game. So if we have a really long balancing session and people decide to rebalance like 15 million kaijus, which happens quite often. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Which happens quite often because as Vert said, balancing so many kaijus is really difficult, and we'll be getting more into that in a little bit. What this allows us to do is you can basically copy this code right here, and they send it to us, And we have a utility tool which we can just paste this code in, and it will immediately just automatically replace all of the stats that they changed. And this change has made us be a lot more proactive with balancing in Kaiju Universe. This has allowed us to do these massive rebalance waves that we have been seeing for the past few months, I believe. And I think it has done very good for the balancing of. I know that some kaijus aren't balanced perfectly, but a tool like this is, I think, incredibly important. Very, I would actually like to ask for your help too in speaking about the difficulties that come with balancing 70 kaijus, over 70 kaijus at this point.
Right. So as we said before, it's very, very difficult to get everything into exactly the right spot, because the first thing that we try to do is determine exactly where something is supposed to be balanced. And then once we've determined like where do we exactly want this to sit, we determine the price based off that, and then we determine the rest. And a lot of factors are very changeable. Like for example, if you double something's price, we'll likely have to increase the power to match it so that it's worth it to get in the game's long run. And there are many factors like this: the strength, the balancing, the way that it plays. Something that also has to be considered is how difficult is it to play, because we purposely have some kaijus like Thermo, which has a button where you can click and it's haha big blast Thermo. And then we have some kaijus that are extremely complex, like Eva or -1, where it takes a lot more concentration to get that to run. And some people want the big Thermo blast button, and some people want to be able to have a very comprehensive fighting experience. And we want to be able to facilitate that for everyone. So that is a big thing that we also have to put into consideration every single time we balance.
If I may,
So yeah, that's pretty much how we balance things in KU. It's a bit complicated, but also pretty simple. So that brings us to our next segment, which is Dice speaking on development and how it's going.
Well, hello, everyone. Again, my name is Dice. And before I get fully into my segment, which will be mainly answering a lot of the, long-asked questions the community has had, first I'd like to say a few words. And those go, well, we have received a lot of questions from the community. And by far, one of the biggest questions the community has asked us is how has the development team, how are we affected by the situation? How have the developers been feeling? Now, it has been quite the rough patch for all of us. And still, I'm happy to say we stand strong. Most of that is because in these last few days, I have witnessed the community unlike any I have seen before. The amount of support and love our development team has received is insane. The pure understanding and heartfelt wishes, they go above and beyond. Now, there has been a fair bit of doubt and fear too. And you ask, how do we respond to that? I have one thing to say. The development team has one thing to say. PG has one thing to say. We stand strong, even in these asking times. We will weather the storm, as we always do. We will not give up. It is not within our nature. And we will prosper whatever the outcome is, or whatever the cost may be. We stand strong. We will weather the storm. Our development team, to those curious, there we go. Our development team remains fully operational and unwavering throughout our troubles. And that is only, as I said, boosted by your support and love. We appreciate your patronage, but more than anything, your passion for our game. Thank you, thank you, thank you from all of us. The development team, the staff team, all of us. Thank you. We will stand strong, and it is all because of you, our community, to thank. Now enough of that, on to some actual questions. And now, one of our first questions is, what are the developers actually doing right now? A lot of that currently is preparations for the new era that is about to break. Of course, a lot of things have been changing with recent events, and we are making sure that we are fully operational when we get back on track. Another question necessarily is not about development. It's about these dev streams. And it's if dev streams will have teasers all of the time. Now, with this, I would say no promises, but we'll try. Now about some actual kaiju facts. Will every kaiju have runs and flies? As you may know, certain kaijus like Mothman have received, both a run and a fly. I'm happy to say every future kaiju that we do add will have a run and a fly. Are movesets for kaijus fully thought through? What about this? I would actually like to include Jonathan for a little bit, as he may also know a little bit about this. I don't want to say a lot about it, but we are improving on learning with each experience, and making sure that we know what the community wants and what they don't want. Jonathan, could you perhaps speak about how we gather some of this information on what people like to see in kaijus and what they don't?
Well, generally speaking, it's boring to have about 3 attacks that do roughly the same thing. It makes kaijus very repetitive to play. I think kaiju and characters, whatever character they are more fun when each of your move acts as an individual tool. So a lot more characters now have combos and things like that, but they also have, one move is a normal melee, one's an area of effect, one is something like a movement-based attack, one's a beam, and it's good if you can chain these together so you can use each of your tools for a specific situation and then pull out another one of your tools to combo with that. And we're trying to work more of that into the gameplay to make it a lot more entertaining and dynamic.
Thank you, Jonathan. Another question right here, and this, I believe, is, if not the most asked question. If KU does not come back with a license, will we have other things? Now, I can't say a whole lot about this, sadly, not at this time. But what I can assure everyone with, we have contingencies. We do. And I believe one of the last questions for this short segment will be, when KU is back up, because it will we continue updating consistently? This is something where I can definitely answer it saying, yes, we will continue updating consistently, and to the surprise perhaps of some people, we may even be more efficient in how many times, how much, and with which quality we actually do. Now, for the last question of this segment, what will the next teased kaiju be? Zeal, I believe this is a question for which I need you to answer.
I don't know, Dice. So, on that question, on what the newest teased kaiju will be, who could it be? We would actually like to show you quite a silly little guy we have been working on for the past couple of times. We will introduce you to, or dear Baby Godzilla. Let me clear the weather because this looks terrible. The weather, I mean, not him. He is adorable. I love him. I love this guy. This guy is the cutest thing I have ever seen in my life. Dice, would you like to talk about this new accessory that adorns?
Yes, as you can see above his head, there is a small, tiny top hat. I am obliged to say this will not be present during the base Baby Godzilla, which you unlock. It may be unlocked either via any means, like getting its level at a certain percentage, though currently it is undecided.
How pretty he is. So We can show around here some of his. Sorry. We can show around here some of his animations. I should note we always base off the scripts of kaijus from other kaijus. It's just simpler. That way, I have been working on something that will allow us to not have to do this. For the time being, that's what we've been doing. He just ended up being Gabara. He will not be a Gabara clone. Don't worry about that. This is just a placeholder. This kaiju is still in development. And we can see here's a lot of his animations. I think the detail, especially on just the way he flows, is very beautiful. Dice, would you like to talk about some of the animating process, some of the things you thought about when this kaiju, and generally just directing it?
Yes. Now, one thing definitely about Baby Godzilla that was very important to us was that he is absolutely adorable, that he's cute. For this, of course, it's already majorly done by the funny proportions, like the very large head that he adorns, and then, well, of course, the quite chubby little look. Another fun thing, I suppose, is just his eyes. It's something just as simple as that, with the two little sparkles added there to sort of give that cute sort of outlook. Now, of course, as mandatory with most kaijus, his idol has a few little fun interactions. And generally for his movement animations, like his walk and run, we try to make sure that it was very bubbly, bouncy, and not necessarily goofy, but cute.
I can show around some of his attacks. I will be leaving the bulk of them later. But one of his attacks that I really adore is his fifth attack, which consists of him pointing and laughing at you. And this makes you very sad, and it gives you a deep. I think that whoever had this idea deserves a raise. I think it is the single best ability in our game, and I think we should have every kaiju ability be modeled after it. One of also my favorite abilities. It was your well, Dice deserves a raise. There you go. And another ability I really like of his is this ability right here. You can currently see the you're so loud, you're so cute, like you're so loud. Hold on. Oh, why is the volume so high? There we go. You can see the development hitboxes, but he just gets very angry and he punches very angrily, and it's very cute. He also has a very big chumpy attack. He just looks like the cutest thing ever. Obviously, this kaiju will be balanced like a real kaiju. It will not be a joke kaiju. This will be a real usable kaiju for everyone to play. But I really do adore the just silly levels of goofiness, adorableness that this guy has. It's definitely something we don't have enough of. A lot of those Showa kaijus are very silly, and this kaiju really leans into that. I am very glad we're getting him into the game, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. And talking about feeling the same way, I actually have an announcement to make, and I hope this is something a lot of people will be very free. We have. I can turn the sound back on for dramatic effect, but as you may have noticed for the past year and a half or so, KU has been demonstrably quite silent. We used to have a soundtrack, remember, which got removed when Roblox decided that having sounds was not a thing to be. I am thrilled to announce that we plan on re-adding a soundtrack to Kaiju Universe as a part of a larger update. And as part of the soundtrack, we would actually like to not only announce an event, but also show you a song we have for the game. So before I talk about this event, I think it would be really cool to show this song. Mute myself. We're going to have a nice listen to it.
And this song will be part of KU's official soundtrack.
Yes. I would like again to announce this song will be part of KU's official soundtrack, and I would like to announce an opportunity for you, part of the community, to collaborate in KU's soundtrack. So Roblox, ever since the infamous Sound Apocalypse, has expanded their library with a wide variety. Oh. Sorry, I had a little technical problem. With a wide variety of songs and music for various different genres. We will announce the event and its details in the coming days, but for now, what I can say is you will be able to submit whatever song you want on Roblox that you want to see in KU, and a lot of songs from the community might end up being chosen to be part of Kaiju Universe's soundtrack. And yeah, this is very exciting, and I hope all of you are looking. And before I leave off, one last thing to say is we are hiring for the soundtrack. If you are good at making songs, do keep an eye out. We do keep an eye out for applications.
And with all of this exciting news, thank you, Zeal. Thank you for your for showing that off to us. And with that, we will once again be concluding one of our dev streams. Once again, I'm going to go over every one of our developers present here right now. Jonathan.
Hello.
Zeal, our scripter.
Yay.
And Verit, our esteemed one of our two owners.
Hello.
Thank you all for attending our dev stream. And once again, thank you all for your love and support that you have given PG. You do not go unnoticed, and we love you all for it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here, and good night.